Welcome to Am I the AH, where OP's brother, who once objected to lavish spending on OP's wedding, is now hosting a luxurious wedding for his daughter, funded mainly by borrowing money from family and friends. When he asks his OP for a loan, she decides to teach him a bitter and harsh lesson. I, 30-year-old female, got married 3 years ago and spent around $150,000 on the ceremony. And the amount mainly came from my parents' savings, and I contributed around 40% of it. My elder brother Aaron, 45-year-old male, strongly objected to the lavish ceremony, and for the same reason, didn't attend the wedding. He went on to call me a white elephant for our parents. Aaron's daughter, 26-year-old female, was getting married 2 months ago, but his savings were not enough to finance a lavish ceremony. So, he came to me to borrow $30,000 for the wedding expenses, but I refused to lend him the money because he already had $120,000 in his account. I also didn't give him the money because he objected to my lavish wedding and didn't attend the ceremony. I then told my brother that I might not attend his daughter's wedding. Upon hearing this, he became very angry and accused me of being selfish. He said he understood why I didn't lend him the money and why I wasn't attending his daughter's wedding. He tried to explain that he objected to spending on my wedding because our parents needed the money more. He claimed that if our parents hadn't spent that money on my lavish wedding, our father might not have died of cancer, and I could have used that money to start a business instead of working for someone else. Here, my brother lied about our father's death. At the time of my wedding, our father was completely healthy, and his reports were clear. Our father was diagnosed with cancer a year and a half after my wedding. I clearly told him that he objected to spending money on my wedding out of jealousy, and now he was willing to take out a loan for an extravagant ceremony. At that time, I didn't know my father would get cancer, and we would be in a difficult situation a year and a half later. Like any other human being, I couldn't predict the future. However, my brother continued insisting that I lend him money. However, I didn't budge an inch, so finally, he left disappointed. Although our father's death was a nightmare for all of us, my brother's objection to my lavish wedding had nothing to do with his death. He just didn't want our parents to spend on me. I had not expected this from my brother, as he was my only brother, and we had been very close before his marriage. After my refusal, my brother secured a personal loan from a bank at an interest rate of 9%, and suddenly, he lost his job. Now, the bank is pressuring him to pay back the loan, and this mounting pressure has led him to depression and then to the hospital. My mother, 67-year-old female, cursed me for sending my brother to the hospital. I went to the hospital to see him, but I don't think I am responsible for his hospitalization. Rather, he is responsible for all of this. Now, my mother, and above all my husband, wants me to pay back my brother's loan and help him find a new job. I am totally confused and cannot decide what is right and what is wrong and what I should do. A bunch of questions and contrasting feelings ran across my brain whenever I remember this event, or perhaps incident. Was my refusal to lend money to Aaron a wrong decision? And was this decision an overreaction? Should I pay back for my brother's loan? OP is not an AH. OP's brother is a jerk and a hypocrite. At OP's wedding, her parents spent on the wedding because they could afford it, but OP's brother is arranging a lavish wedding ceremony for his daughter by taking loans. It is strange and nonsensical. It is clear that OP is not responsible for his hospitalization when he is the one who chose to take on debt for the wedding. If he could not afford to spend on his daughter's wedding, why did he take loans? OP's mother is being unreasonable, and the weirdest character in this story is OP's husband. Let's now move on to r/pro revenge, where a landlord refuses to sell a house to OP's friends at the price agreed upon by his late mother. In response, OP and his friends enact a pro-revenge plan against the landlord. My best friend and her husband rented a 4-bedroom rundown house in an expensive city for $400 per week. The owner, a wealthy old lady who was fond of my friend, froze the rent for 5 years and promised to sell them the house once they had saved enough for a bank loan. They saved diligently, but unfortunately, the old lady passed away before anything was on paper. The new owners of the property were the lady's 4 children, each extremely wealthy in their own right. They inherited a large portfolio of properties. When they initially spoke to my friends, they assured them that the sale would proceed, but they would have to wait until probate had settled. My friends were confident, and they began renovating the property. When probate was settled, my friends applied for a loan, but their application was refused because the owners had increased the asking price by $80,000 without informing my friends. friends. To make matters worse, the house would soon be listed on the open market. In just 7 days, an open house was scheduled, and given the current market conditions, it was likely to sell quickly. My friends were devastated. They might be able to borrow enough, but it would take longer than a week to get the money. Another problem was that property prices had increased, causing rents to rise, while theirs remained frozen. They were worried about finding an affordable place with more than 2 bedrooms if they were asked for a higher rent or faced eviction. I was scared for my friends, but I was also furious. The greedy lessers were among the richest people in the city, yet they were exploiting a struggling family. Their actions were driven by pure greed, as they had no real need for the money. It was evident that they had orchestrated this situation from the start. As my friends scrambled to gather the money, I began plotting. I researched tips on how to facilitate a sale. The goal was to make the property unappealing without tarnishing my friends' reputation as tenants. We moved all the furniture in from the walls, added some extra furniture, borrowed ornaments, and hung a load of motorcycle memorabilia on the walls. The place felt smaller. My friend boiled a head of cabbage on the stove, and we sprayed ammonia around the front and back doors because it smelled like all the neighborhood cats had been marking their territory. We also poured 24 rotten eggs down the drain to make it smell like sewer gas. We acquired a moldy old couch and placed it in the front yard of our neighbor across the road, with their permission, of course. We started calling friends for help. Anybody with a loud and crappy car was asked to do a few laps in front of the block during the open day. The street was unusually busy that day. Everyone we knew found a reason to drive by. It was practically rush hour. We called out mates from the rugby club. A big portion of our club are very large men. The next door neighbor set up a BBQ in their front yard, and we offered free food and cheap beer. They came on motorcycles wearing their roughest gear. There was quite a crowd. On the open day, a lot of people showed up, but most of them were in and out within minutes, and no one made an offer. My friends were the only ones to make an offer, and they got the house. They still had to pay more than they had planned, but not as much as the greedy bastards wanted. The owners had not visited the house much, so they thought that was how their house and the neighborhood were. They could not notice that my friends had made their property look worse than it was. What a revenge. However, it was not perfect because your friends bought the house at a price higher than the owner's mom had agreed to. Best of luck to your friends for the new house. What is the opinion of Mac Reddit fans about the revenge? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoy the stories I bring you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye bye, see you tomorrow with some more spicy fries.